Hello and welcome to your yoga practice for the day. My name is Jenny. This is a core and restore class. For props, you are welcome to grab anything that you want for the restorative part. I don't have anything planned where we're going to be using props, but if you want to grab a block or two, you can use books, you can use whatever could give you a little lift, a little support. You can also grab a blanket, bolster, cushions, pillows, anything that you want to use for a prop during your practice or once we get to the restore part. And for today, I kind of want to talk about the idea of that's not yoga, and how many times I personally have said that in my yoga career as a practitioner and as a teacher, of just seeing something that's being taught as yoga and thinking that's not yoga. And the more I started noticing this, the more I started noticing actually it is, and more than what we think of yoga is actually yoga. That came out weird. So more of what we experience in the world is a yogic experience, or can be a yogic experience. What we most typically think of when we hear the word yoga is the physical practice. That's one that's pretty easily accessible. It's one that Western culture has really blown up into what it is today, which is actually a little bit more towards like the fitness world. And because of that, there have been lots of different iterations of poses and what the pose is supposed to look like and proper alignment and all of that sort of stuff. And it's kind of almost gotten to a point where the poses themselves aren't very inclusive because they don't take into consideration all the variations of our body. So, or all the variations of different bodies. We are all different, we're all built different. Our skeletal structure, the way that our joints move, everything, there are lots of things that make us different. And so I feel like yoga should cater more to that than us trying to cater to yoga, us trying to put our bodies into this little yoga box. Let's break open that box. So I've been taking a course. It's really interesting. It's really just dismantling a lot of what I understand of the yoga world. And while I'm still learning and still integrating it, I'm not going to jump too much into a lot of the breakdown of poses that I've been getting into. I'll build that into my classes as we go, but I do want to take some time today to just feel as we get into these poses, to have that sensory experience, to feel what it's like in your body. Don't worry about what it's supposed to look like, what it looks like on Instagram, what mine looks like. Just be in your body, be in that sensation, and that's yoga. So that's kind of where we're going today. Let's get into it. We will start seated, since it's where we are. So find a comfortable seat. You can cross the legs, you could extend them out, you could draw the knees in towards the chest. I like to sit up on a prop. I've got a little blanket under the booty, gives me a little lift, helps me tilt the pelvis forward so I can find a nice tall spine sitting with some integrity. Relax in the shoulders, relax in the face. Feel free to get any wiggles out as you start to really establish your seated foundation here. Really grounding the sits bones down, lengthening up so there's this lift against gravity. And it can start all the way at the root, at the mula bandha or at the perineum. And you can lift that pelvic floor. You could squeeze those muscles like you're doing a Kegel or trying to stop a flow of urine. And all of that kind of upward lift can just build up through the spine, up through the crown of the head, sitting nice and tall with support. And start to find your breath. Feel free to send a sigh or two out of the mouth, especially on a nice hot day like today. Sometimes we need to just expel a little heat. Or it's just a nice sigh for the body. Kind of help you settle in. Tuning a little more into the breath, start to deepen the breath. We do want to draw the breath in and out of the nose, but that can be more challenging, especially if you're not used to that. So if you need to, be a mouth breather, through the practice, that's okay. Just keep in mind that goal of in and out through the nose. As you continue to breathe, find a connection to your center. Start to find that connection to your core. On the inhale, pressing the belly out, creating some space for the lungs to expand. And on that exhale, draw the belly in towards the spine, up towards the heart, and kind of hug the ribs in so that you can start to get that core activation. So we're going to tune into the core. We still got that lift from the pelvic floor. So even though we're just sitting here breathing, we've got some activation. We've got some sensation that we're tuning into, some intention here. And as we move through our practice today, one of my goals as a teacher is to give you safe parameters to work within, but give you the autonomy to explore your own practice, your body, your mind within those parameters. So if you go back to my class on the Divine Feminine on Father's Day, I talked a little bit about Shakti Shiva, and one of my favorite analogies is the idea of a riverbed. You need the riverbed and you need the water in the river for it to exist. Without the banks of the river, the water is just going to be a big wet mess. And with just the banks without the water, it's just dirt. So the two work together, and you have that confinement, that structure of the banks, and the water is then free to flow in that direction, but still has that freedom of movement and fluidity. So that's what I want to encourage in your practice, so that you can step into any yoga class, not just one of mine, and feel that freedom, feel that autonomy to be able to practice your own yoga style in a safe way that feels right for your body, regardless of what the teacher is saying, regardless of what anything else or what other students are doing. All right, continue to check in with the breath. And as you feel ready, we'll just uncross through the legs if they're crossed, just kind of shake them out. Get a little circulation going back. You maybe shake out through the arms, if that would feel good. And then we're going to come onto the knees. So we're going to come into a hero's position. Now this may be easy for some people. This just in itself may be a challenge. You can double up on the mat. That's a really nice way to protect the knees. And if bending deep into the knees is a struggle, you can also grab a blanket, you can roll up a towel, and you can place it on the calves. So it gives you a little extra there to kind of sit back on. So from hero's pose, from this knee position, we're going to send the arms out and up, just as high as feels okay. And just take a moment to notice where your shoulder stops. You know, if your shoulders are here, that's fine. If it's here, if they're further back, just kind of notice that range of motion in the shoulders without opening up through the chest, without getting the spine involved. Just reaching those arms up. Okay, find that core engagement, draw the belly in, and then we're just going to start to bow it forward. And just come forward so you start to find some activation in your core. You can pause at any point. You can come down further, just finding what works for you. As we reach out through the arms, gaze towards the ground so you have that nice neutral neck, starting to build up some heat in the core. So we're getting some support here. Find that perineum activation, that Mula Bandha, pelvic floor drawing up. And maybe start to create a little more tension in the arms. Maybe they energetically draw together, but imagine that you're holding a ball so you can't actually bring the hands together. Just creating your own resistance. Awesome. We're feeling a little heat building up in the body, getting a nice little stretch through the low back, some activation through the core. One more deep inhale. And exhale, release all the way down. You can release the hands. The head can tuck in, chin towards the chest. Maybe the head finds the ground, maybe not. You could also bring in a prop here if you wanted to release the head down. All right, and if it would feel good, reach the arms back behind you, finding a little different stretch for the shoulders. You could release the hands palms up onto the ground, or bring the hands to the low back. All right. And we're gonna channel a little Wayne's World, we're not worthy. So when you're ready, we're on an inhale, we're gonna send the hands out, and we're gonna start to raise up. We're gonna come up onto the knees, hips lift up and shift forward. You can bring in a little back bend as you press the hips forward, get a little stretch for the hip flexors. And then here we go, I'm not worthy, bowing down. And send the arms back behind you. A few more rounds like this. And by the way, you are worthy. We are all worthy. When you're ready, send the arms out, start to raise them up, coming up to the knees, hips shift forward, get a nice little stretch for the hip flexors, maybe a little back bend. And then exhale, slowly dive forward. Try to keep that spine straight, finding that hovering that we had at the beginning, sending the arms back if that feels good for the shoulders, releasing the head down. Awesome work. One more. Arms come out to the side as we start to raise it up. Hips lift, shift forward, a little back bend if that feels good. And release it down. Fantastic work. All right, now we're going to come to hands and knees. So we're going to release the hands down. And the knees can come underneath the hips, or if it would feel better, they could go slightly behind. You want to spread out through the hands. And there's a common cue to have the wrist directly underneath the shoulders. That creates a really extreme 90-degree angle on the wrists that may not be for everyone. Functional range of motion of the wrists, not 90 degrees. I think it's around like 70. So if it feels better, take some time. Maybe walk the hands forward. Maybe walk them out. Maybe you need to turn the hands in or out. Just kind of play around. Find what feels good here. All right, and then we're gonna find that neutral spine. So the belly is drawing in to bring a little support, but we're not rounding out, so we're still have that natural curve of the lumbar spine. Gaze towards the ground, belly draws in for that support. Awesome work. Then with this engagement, now we're gonna move through spinal flexion. Cat-cow, inhale, drop the belly, pelvis tilts up, gaze lifts, heart shines forward, exhale, round out, tuck the chin, tuck the tail, press the ground away as you lift the back of the heart. A few more rounds, warming up through the spine. Fantastic work. We're coming back to that neutral spine. We're going to work with our balance a little bit here while we strengthen the core. Right hand steps forward. It could stay on the ground or it could lift and hover. Kind of adjust here. We don't want to shift so much that we're putting all the weight into that left wrist, but we're kind of evenly distributing it between those three limbs. And then if you want, start to kick the left foot back. Toes could stay on the ground or they could hover as well. Now the hand, the foot, they're not coming past the shoulder or the knee or the hip because that's going to create a dip. We want that nice, solid, neutral spine. Toes active, fingers active. Beautiful work. Inhale, lengthen. You can stay here on an exhale, elbow and knee draw together as you round it out. Inhale, re-extend. Exhale, elbow and knee come together. Nice and slow, move from your core. Inhale, extend. And exhale, bring it in. All right, inhale, extend. This time we're opening up, so sending the right arm out to the right, left leg out to the left. Maybe that knee bends, that might be a little easier there. But we want to have this lift there, like you're if the knee's bent, it's gonna look like you're peeing in a fire hydrant like a dog, and that's okay. That's yoga too. All right, inhale, bring the limbs back towards center. Exhale, release it down. Take some circles through the hips, as big or as small as you'd like. And when you're ready, come back to your tabletop. Find that neutral spine. Find that core engagement. solid connection down to the hands, and we're gonna walk the left hand forward. And you could tent the hand, come up on the fingertips, or the hand could raise shoulder level. Nice and active here. Kind of redefine your balance. And then, without shifting so much in the hips, just kind of putting a little more weight into that left knee, we'll start to extend the right toes back. Again, make it stay on the ground, or that foot raises to hip level. And again, we're not dipping into the belly. We're not creating an arch here. We're lengthening, engaging. You're welcome to stay here, creating some tension in the foot, some extension through the arm, or inhale to lengthen. Exhale, elbow and knee draw together. Inhale, re-extend. Exhale, nice and slow, elbow and knee come together. And just notice the sensations. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow and knee come together. Inhale, extend. Exhale, open up. Left arm to the left, right leg to the right. Maybe you bend the knee, peeing on that fire hydrant. Lifting through the hip. Awesome work, core is engaged. Find the breath. Inhale, re-extend. Exhale, release it down. Fantastic work. Take any movements here that would feel good. Maybe those circles, maybe some more cat-cow. Maybe send the hips back to a child's pose. Awesome work. And then when you feel ready, we're gonna meet in a downward dog. So as you come through hands and knees, notice that if the knees are directly underneath the hips, wrists directly underneath the shoulders, that doesn't give us a lot of room to move up into our downward dog. It can be, some people can do it, but this is still too narrow for me. So you can walk the knees back, you can walk the hands forward. Take your time to start to find your downward dog. And a common cue that you hear for downward dog is, head between the biceps, or head, further than the shoulders. But if you remember when we went back and just noticed as we raised our shoulders where it naturally stopped, that's gonna affect your down dog. So again, we're trying to get out of some of these cues that we hear in the yoga world that don't apply to every body, that may make us feel like we're doing something wrong or we're incapable of doing something when really just not the way we're built. Really feel into your down dog. Another cue you might hear is heels to the ground. My heels don't go to the ground. I've got tight Achilles. And when you have the feet all the way on the ground and we're pointed forward like this, that's extreme that's an extreme angle on the ankles. So if you want some activation in the backs of the legs, you can root the heels down, but don't feel like they have to touch. Awesome, a few more rounds of breath here. Just feeling your down dog. Feel free to kind of explore with the hands. Maybe, again, just like we did on hands and knees, maybe it feels better to have the hands wider. Maybe you need to play with the angle of the fingers or the hand. Just explore, just feel. Find what feels good. Awesome work. When you're ready, we'll just take a sassy little saunter to the top of the mat. So we're gonna cross the right leg over towards the left leg over towards the right. Bend the knees as much as you need. You can come up onto the fingertips. Nice and slow. Little crisscross walk. When you get to the top, we'll bring the feet parallel. And we'll find our forward fold here. And just like we kind of played around feeling with the hands, do the same for the feet. Maybe they're hip distance, maybe they're narrower, maybe they're wider. And again, maybe you need to turn the toes out or turn them in. Find just solid, what feels solid for you, what feels right in your body. And if it would feel good, maybe grab the elbows, sway side to side. Just getting a nice stretch through the hamstring, through the low back. And don't worry if you're nowhere close to touching the ground. That's not necessary. If it's a thing that you really want to do, bend the knees until you touch the ground. All right. As you feel ready, we're gonna inhale to a half lift. So we're finding that extension through the spine. Hands, you could bring in blocks here. They could come to the shins, they could come to the thighs. Now, just like we were hovering in our hero's pose, we've got this length through the spine. It's neutral, so we've got the support of the belly. We're not dropping the belly down and duck butting it out, and we're not rounding out here. We've got some length here. We've got this natural curve in the back, gazes towards the ground. A little more challenge would be to hover the hands out into a T or biceps by the ears. Find your breath here. Nice work. Knees can be bent as much as you'd like. You can work to straighten them, but we don't want to lock out into those joints. Fantastic. One more deep inhale. On the exhale, we're going to bend deeper into the hips, send the booty down, and that will bring the chest up with our natural extended spine, and we'll find chair. Arms could reach in front of you, and you could reach them up. They could come out to the side. They could come to prayer. They could come to the knees. Feeling some heat in those legs. All right, now we're gonna bring in some low abs strengthening and work some of those hip flexors. So you can stay with the hips nice and low. If you want, you can come up a little higher. And what we're gonna start to do, we're gonna prop the right toes, and maybe this is where you stay. Or maybe you just kind of tap the right toe a little bit. If you want a little bit more, flex the right toe and lift. Now pulsing that knee up towards the chest. So we're strengthening that balancing leg on the left. And then we've got this, whatever version of pulsing you're taking here. Again, the toe can be lifted. You could just plant the heel and lift like that. It could just come up a little bit. It could come up a lot. And note that all these options I'm giving are not ranked good, better, best, beginning, intermediate, or advanced. Different ways for you to explore your practice, whatever you need it to be. Some days you need a more active practice. Some days you need a more mellow practice. Your choice. All right, feeling that burn. Now, when you're ready, we're gonna come standing staff. So we've got that knee lifting. And again, the toe could be down if that's where you are, but we've got that nice straight spine now. Awesome work. If you want a little bit more, extend that leg out. Whoo! Get that in the quad. Yes, okay. Fantastic work. One more deep inhale and exhale. Release the foot down. Oh, shake it up. Nice work. All right, and we're going to take that to the other side. So we're going to start from chair. So we'll inhale, just reach the arms up, and then exhale, send the hips back, bend in the knees. Again, arms could be doing whatever you want. And your feet, they could be together, they could be hip distance, they could, again, maybe you need to turn the ankles in or out. There's lots of ways of investigating how you're built and your proportions, your angles, and the more you get to know your body in those ways, the more you can cater your practice to that, to your body. So your practice can be more sustainable, long-term, and it'll be catered for you. All right, here we go. We're gonna start to raise the left toes, and maybe just prop the toes. Maybe they hover. Maybe the knee comes all the way up. And if you want, some pulsing. Nice work. Now the right leg is working to stabilize. We're working the ankle muscles, these supporting muscles. Draw the belly in, find that low core activation. And hands can be doing whatever you want for counterbalance or for self-expression. Awesome work. When you're ready, we're going to the spine. And if you want, extend that leg out. Woo-wee. Yeah, feel it. Flex the toes back, toes are active. Woo. It's okay to fall out. That is part of life, that's part of yoga. Awesome. One more deep inhale, and exhale. Release it down, shake it out. Whew. Okay, mountain pose. So instead of giving alignment cues, just experience what a mountain is. Grounded, solid, firm, reaching, and just kind of feel into the feet. And you know, there's the common cues, feet hip distance apart or toes, big toes touching, little separation between the heels. There's lots of different variations there. Find what works for you. Maybe you've got one foot that turns out more than the other, so you have kind of an asymmetrical stance. Find what feels good on the knees. I know, simple, right? Just Tadasana. Alright, when you're ready, inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, nice and slow, dive up forward. All the way down to your forward fold. Inhale, half lift, lengthen out through the spine. And exhale, fold it in, release all the way down. Fantastic work. We're gonna plant the hands and we'll step the feet back to plank. You're also welcome to lower the knees into half plank. And just like we did in all fours, find what hand position works best for you. Awesome work. Core is engaged, belly drawing in. We're pressing the ground away. So a lot of static holds today. Just some time to feel, to notice, to really get into the sensation of the poses. All right, when you're ready, we're coming all the way down onto the belly. So however you'd like to get there, if you want to ride with me, we're going to take it nice and slow down for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing all the way to the belly. You can turn onto either cheek, point the toes. You can release the arms. Maybe shake out through the hips, little shimmy side to side. All right, we'll do 3 rounds of Cobra and then we'll hold our Cobra. So we're gonna bring the hands near the shoulders to support us. It doesn't have to be directly underneath the shoulders, it can be a little bit wider. We're gonna take the gaze towards the ground so you have that nice neutral neck. Press into the tops of the feet so you have activation in the legs. Be aware of what's happening in the low back. On an inhale, start to lift the head, shoulders, chest, shoulder blades draw together. Exhale, lower down. Just come up as high as feels okay. Nothing extreme if you don't want it. Inhale, raise it up. Maybe a little higher, maybe not. Exhale, lower down. Last one with a hold. Inhale, lift. Find your Cobra and hold. Maybe we're down in a baby Cobra. Maybe a little mid Cobra, teenage Cobra. Maybe we're higher. Maybe you're all the way up here. Again, wherever you are, that's where you are. But we're active here. The legs are active. The shoulders are drawing together. Elbows drawing together. Maybe the hands even start to hover. We're holding and building that strength in the back side of the core while we strengthen the back while we stretch the front. Find your breath. Might be a little more challenging since we're on the belly to breathe deep because we're actually pressing the belly into the ground, but that's a good sensation to stay connected to. Awesome work. One more deep inhale. Exhale, release it down. Maybe you turn onto the other cheek and you can take a little shimmy or even bend the knees and windshield wiper. Feel the heartbeat. Feel your belly pressing into the ground. Just feel. And yes, this is yoga. Awesome work. When you feel ready, we'll bring the hands back by the shoulders, planting the hands, elbows draw together. And if you want a little extra challenge, you can reverse your push-up to come back up through plank. We're gonna meet in a child's pose. So again, if you wanna ride along, plant the hands, prop the toes, engage in the core. When you're ready, it's a nice deep inhale. On the exhale, press the ground away, rise up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice work. We're gonna lower the knees, send the hips back, find child's pose. We walk the hands over towards the right, finding a nice deep side stretch in the left side body. When you're ready, walking the hands back towards center and over towards the left. If you're taking that option. All right, coming back through center, we're gonna meet up in a seat. So if you want, you can come up to hands and knees, swing the legs around, somehow end up on the booty. And have some space back behind you to lie down. So find about the middle of your mat. All right, we're gonna play with boat. So this is kind of bringing in, oh, got sweat in my eye. So this is bringing in that same kind of engagement and activation that we did in our chair little pulse lifts. So kind of similar body shape and things that you can do, different ways that you can explore this. So we want to find a nice solid connection to our sits bones, and we're going to balance on those sits bones. So kind of find that space. And what we want to avoid is rounding out and kind of falling back. So just take whatever option works best for you. We're going to draw the belly in, ribs hug in so that core is engaged, nice length through the spine, just like we did at the beginning of class. And then finding that balancing point on the hips or on the sits bones. And maybe you just come up onto the toes. And maybe that's your balance. Maybe this is where you work with today, which is awesome. It's still building strength. If you want, maybe you play with raising one foot at a time. Maybe both raise. And maybe they just hover a little bit, or maybe they come parallel to the ground. Hands. They can be behind the knees. That's a nice way to help bring that lift in the chest, help you find that integrity in the spine. You could also release the hands out. That's more of a challenge. And watch if you're taking that option that you're not rounding out. But it's okay if you fall back. Okay. So wherever your version of boat is, we're here, we're breathing. We've got a string lifting our heart up towards the sky. Core is engaged. We've got that nice static hold. Embrace the shake. I got it going. Whew, feel those hip flexors. Breathe into the core. And now, if you want, just if you want, we're going to take our little boat for a row. So we're going to reach the arms up. Exhale, over to the left or right. Inhale, center. And exhale, twist to the left. Up through center, twist to the right. Up through center, twist to the left. One more if you want it, just an option. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Awesome work. We've got just a few more breaths here. You got this. Find that core. Whew, my hip flexors are burning. Here we go. Toes are active if they're lifted. One more deep inhale and exhale. Release the feet down. Whew, nice work. My favorite counter stretch for that is cobbler's pose. That's what my body just naturally wants after that. So that's what I'm gonna take. If there's something that would feel better for you, feel free to explore that. So with cobbler's pose, bottoms of the feet come to touch, knees are dropping open. And you can play with the intensity of this pose by the positioning of the heels. The further out they are from the root, the more gentle that opening is going to be. The closer they are, the more intense that opening is going to be. And this is also a spot where you can bring in a little booty prop, a little blanket to lift, again, just to help you find a little more length in the spine. So here we're kind of letting gravity do the work. We're letting the knees hang heavy. And notice if the knees start to want to creep up, try to weigh them down. However, if you're on the more hypermobile side and your knees just plop right open and you're not feeling much sensation here, what I encourage you to do is build strength around those joints. Those joints are so open that it could almost cause a weakening if you keep exploiting those. So you want to build some strength around them. So if you're hypermobile and you're not feeling much in this stretch, bring in some activation. Hover the knees, press the feet in, create your own tension to build some supporting muscles around those joints. You're welcome to stay nice and tall, or if coming down towards more of a forward fold would feel good, feel free to take that. Chest could lower first, or you could lower the head down. What I don't want is grabbing onto your feet and forcing yourself down. Nothing forceful here, nothing aggressive. Stay in tune with the low back, stay in tune with the hips. Find your breath. Awesome work. When you're ready, if you're bowed forward, we'll just slowly start to raise back up. Now we're going to come back into our hero's pose. So we're going to come onto the knees. So once again, you're welcome to double up on the mat. You're welcome to put a blanket on the calves. But we're going to do a stretch for the feet, and we're going to stretch the wrists and the neck. So for the foot stretch, we're going to prop the toes and then start to set the hips back. Now this is intense, not going to lie. So one thing you can do is bring in a block in between the ankles to take a little weight off of the heels. You can do that with a blanket as well. But we're getting a nice stretch to the feet. This is called screaming foot pose. So if your feet are screaming, yes, you're doing it right. And this is everyone's favorite pose here. Okay, so we've got that nice sensation in our feet. Stay in tune with it. Like I said, it is intended to be intense, but you are the judge of your level of intensity. I like to say that this is a good lesson in breathing through challenging situations and embracing that you can do hard things, you can get through this. Okay, I'm gonna kind of distract you somewhat, not true distraction, but we're gonna do some neck work. And if at any point you need to untuck through the toes, you need to lift, feel free, but know that you can do hard things. You can get through challenging situations, and this is very beneficial for the feet, as long as you don't have any existing injuries, so be aware of that. All right, sitting up nice and tall, relaxing in the shoulders, maybe roll the shoulders out, shake out through the head. And then we'll inhale, lengthening up through the crown of the head. Exhale, drop the right ear over towards the right shoulder, opening up through the left side of the neck. When you're ready, on an exhale, chin drops down towards the chest, head hangs heavy. Shoulders just melt down the back. Well, it's crazy without that AC. I feel like I don't have to yell. On an inhale, start to raise the head up. Sitting up nice and tall, exhale, left ear to left shoulder. Breathe, feel, experience. Maybe curse my name under your breath. On an exhale, chin back down towards the chest, head hangs heavy. We're going to take neck rolls, your choice if you want to take half or full. Half neck rolls, we'll just bring the head over towards the right, Kind of hover it there, and then chin down towards the chest, rocking over towards the left. And repeat in this little half neck roll. If you want a full neck roll, you can't take it all the way around. Just stay really aware of the delicate bones in the cervical spine, in our neck. We don't want to throw the head back. We don't want to dump all the weight into those little bones in there. So if you're taking full neck rolls, you can find some extension through the chin, some length in the neck, but just be aware. If you are taking full neck rolls, when you feel ready, reverse the direction. You're also welcome to pause at any point to breathe deeper into a sensation or to give yourself a little massage, a little bit of love. All right, and when you're ready, we'll just stretch out through the wrists. How those feet doing? Kind of burning. It's gonna feel so good when we release. Okay, we're gonna send the arms out in front of us. We're gonna flex the right hand back, and maybe that's enough. If you want a little bit more, bring the left hand to the palm and gently draw it back. Awesome work. We'll release that down and then just turn the hand down. So fingers pointing down, spread out through the hands. Draw the fingers back towards the forearm. And again, this may be enough, or you could bring the left hand in for just a little assistance. And we'll switch it out. Left hand extends, spread out through the fingers. Fingers point up towards the sky. Drawing that hand back. Maybe you bring that right hand in. Awesome work. When you're ready with hands spread, pointing the hands down, and maybe that's enough. Maybe you start to bring that right hand in. Feel those feet. This is a long one. I usually don't do it this long, but. All right, release, roll out through the wrist, shake it out. And when you're ready, we'll come up off the feet, untuck through the toes. And my favorite thing to do after that is to give the feet a little love. So come back into cobbler's pose, but give yourself a little foot massage. Little bit of love for the feet. All right, fantastic work. When you're ready, now we're going to take it down to the ground. So nice and slow. If you want a little more core work, you're welcome to lower down with that engagement. If you don't, just send it back. Just make your way down onto the back. Oh, and then we're just going to send the legs up towards the sky. And shake them out. Oh, that feels good. Feels good on the feet, good on the legs. And shaking like this, there's just some nice release in the nervous system or something. It just feels so good. All right, maybe you roll out through the ankles, spread out through the toes. Oh, I'm gonna feel those feet tomorrow for sure. All right, so we're in an inversion. We've got our legs over the heart. We're set. You're welcome to stay here. If you want, you could take it into a supported shoulder stance where you would use a prop of some sort. You could bring the feet down, lift into a bridge, slide the prop underneath, and then extend the legs up for supported shoulder stance. Or you can take full shoulder stance, lifting the hips, hands come just above the booty, fingers pointing up towards the heels.
And if you're taking this option, the weight is in the shoulders, in the triceps, on the elbows, no weight at all on the neck. So again, we're protecting those delicate bones in the neck. And feel free to play. Legs could extend, they could just chill out there. You could find that sweet spot where the heels and ankles align with the hips and it doesn't take much effort to keep the legs raised. Or you could explore with some big movements, some small movements, whatever would feel good for you here. Whatever version you're taking, just explore, feel, be present. What can make anything a yogic experience? It's presence. When you are fully present in a moment, when you are so focused on what is happening in the immediate, what's happening in your body, in your mind, in your experience, and your mind isn't getting pulled into the past or projected into the future, when you are fully present, that's yoga. A few more rounds of breath. Oh, my legs are shaking. No rush whenever you feel ready. Let's start to lower the legs down. If you're in shoulder stance, gradually let yourself down. If you're in supported shoulder stance, you want to bring the feet down to the ground first, then lift up through the hips, sliding that prop out from underneath, setting down, and then take whatever feels good here. Maybe you walk the feet out, knees bent, take some windshield wipers. You take a big good morning stretch, reaching the arms overhead. All right, we got time for one more pose. So let's do a reclined pigeon pose. We're gonna keep, the knees are bent, feet planted on the ground. We're gonna extend the right leg up towards the sky, flex the toes back, and then turn the toes out towards the right so we get a little external rotation. So the knee is opening up. We're gonna bend that right knee, crossing the right ankle on top of the left knee. And with that external rotation, continue to open up through the knee. So this kind of mimics pigeon, like regular pigeon, which you're welcome to take. This is a little more gentle option on the knees, on the low back. You can stay here. You could start to raise that left foot off the ground. Left foot could come onto a block or a bolster for a little more passive pose. A little more active, you could interlace the hands behind that left knee. Now, if that left foot is lifted, flex the toes back. Always keep those right toes flexed. Just helps to protect the joints a bit. And the sensation is kind of on the outside of the booty, that right hip. If you want to explore that sensation a little more, not necessary, but if your body's wanting a little more, you could bring in some gentle rocking side to side. You could bring the right elbow to the right knee and gently press that open, finding a little more opening there. You could also draw the left knee towards the left shoulder, finding a little more sensation. But tune in, find what feels good, find what works for you. Find your breath. Relax through the face, the shoulders, the neck. The only tension in this pose would be if the hands are interlaced behind the knee, a little bit of tension between the fingers. Other than that, should be fairly relaxed. Nice work. A few more rounds of breath here. When you feel ready, slowly releasing. So if the hands are interlaced, releasing those, allowing the left foot to find the ground. Crossing through the legs. Feel free to take any movements here, maybe some windshield wipers or anything else that would feel good between sides. And then when you feel ready, we'll just take that to the other side. Knees bent. Left leg extends, flex the toes back, externally rotate so that you open up through that knee, left toes turn out towards the left, and then bend the knee, ankle crosses on top of the right knee, and that left knee continues to open. Left toes stay flexed back, nice and active there. And again, if you want those options to explore, right foot could lift, it could plant on a prop, if you'd like. Or bring the hands underneath the knee. If that right foot is raised, toes flexed back. Left elbow could come to left knee. Right knee towards right shoulder. You could bring in some gentle rocking. All different options for you to explore your pigeon on this side, or your reclined pigeon. Figure 4. And as I said, all of our bodies are built different, and we have asymmetries in the body. Sometimes it's the way we're built, sometimes it's from injuries, sometimes it's from other elements, but we work both sides to bring balance, but don't treat both sides the same. I just thought of a little saying that my friend says about her eyebrows when she can't get them to look right. She reminds herself they're sisters, not twins. So that can apply to you. Each side that we work, they're not identical. They're not going to be exactly the same, so we shouldn't treat them the same. We want to work both sides to help bring some balance, but we also want to acknowledge the differences in each side and not force something that isn't there or that was there on one side and not the other. A few more rounds of breath here, soften in the face. Soften in the neck, the jaw, the shoulders. And whenever you start to feel complete on this side, slowly releasing your way out of the pose. And take as much time as you'd like to move, to breathe, to do any final stretches, anything that will round out your practice, anything that will help you settle in to what we have been building up to, our lovely Shavasana. Final relaxation, corpse pose, whatever you want to call it. So after you've taken whatever time you'd like to explore, to do any final movements, start to settle into your final pose. There is traditional corpse pose on the back, palms turned out, or palms turned up, toes turned out. That doesn't feel awesome on my back. So sometimes I like to bend my knees. Sometimes I like to slide a prop underneath the knees. Sometimes I don't even want to be on my back. You can do this on your side. You could lie on the belly. You could take the legs up the wall. You could even come to a seated meditation. Just as there are variations in our bodies, variations in every pose, there are variations that we can take for our final relaxation that will fit your body, your practice, and what you're needing in this moment. For those of you at home, you're welcome to put on some gentle music. Allow yourself to fully release, to surrender, to be. There's so much pressure from society, from just life in general, to go and do and produce and consume and wear all these different hats, do all these different things. And this is your opportunity, a gift that you have given yourself to step outside of all of those things, of all of those roles, of all of the pressures. This is your opportunity to just be you, to be in your body, in your mind, to feel, to breathe, to be. For those practicing at home, if you have more time to dedicate to your Shavasana, I suggest at least 5 more minutes, upwards of 20. Give yourself this gift. Give yourself this time. As you start to feel ready, just take a moment to check in. Really notice. Maybe even compare and contrast from the beginning of practice to now. Acknowledging any effects of your mindful practice, whether they're subtle, small, or maybe big shifts and integrations happened, or a big release. As you feel ready, gently start to bring a little movement back into the body. Moving through the fingers, through the toes, rolling out through the wrists and ankles. Maybe sending the arms overhead or bending the knees. If you're not already there,
Just rolling onto one side of your body. Pausing for a moment in a nurturing pose. A little homage to the first yoga pose we ever took in our mother's womb. And in this pose of comfort and nurturing, offer yourself some gratitude for carving out this time, for getting out your mat, and for being present to whatever arises or whatever arose for you during this class. As you feel ready, gently make your way back up to a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you. I'll invite you to bring the hands to heart center or take any other meaningful gesture with the hands. Thank you so much for joining me in person or for letting me into your homes today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I see you, I honor you, and I bow to you. Namaste.